Most of this video, I'm going to be going over him looking like this, right? But he ends up eventually looking like this. You know how Marvel does with their different transformations and stuff. Chasm, he ends up, instead of becoming Scarlet Spider, he ends up becoming Chasm. Current him. And you know, at one point he had to become a symbiote. You know, you're not completely a spider character if you haven't once had a symbiote power up, you know what I mean? Ends up becoming this thing known as King Chasm. This right here pretty much explains how he became Chasm, how he got soaked in goo, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's been hanging out with a clone of Jean Grey too much, you know. The Spider-Man that has one of the best outfits ever and is kind of different from the main Spider-Man we know in certain ways. One major thing that we probably won't see the main Peter do much is actually pull out a gun. But that's something we might see the Spider-Man I'm going over in today's video might do when it comes to guns, holding a lot of guns at once. Like, imagine this being a move in the new Spider-Man game. Like, we know he can shoot, but like when it comes to shooting, he's like literally a marksman hitting the bullseye on this occasion with his web, of course. A Spider-Man that will shoot you in the kneecap, will throw a knife at you with accuracy. I mean, gear I haven't really got over yet. I'm gonna go over this in 2 seconds, but he can, you know, along with his web shooters, he can shoot impact webbing and these stingers that I haven't went over yet at the same time, implying marksmanship type Spider-Man. Like this occasion, he's using web shooters. Yeah, this Spider-Man is a marksman Spider-Man, ain't he? Hitting these swords with that aim. But let me stop messing around. In the world or universe of Marvel Comics, there's a whole bunch of different spider-like characters. A lot of them having major similarities and a lot of them having some differences, slight here and there. The main consistency is that they're still spider-like though, right? That's why they're called Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, blah, blah, blah. And the crazy part is, yeah, sure, there is a multiverse, of course, where there's other realities, versions of characters, but there's also been versions of characters in the main continuity, like the one I'm going over in this video, Ben Reilly, Spider-Man. He's one of those Spider-Man I honestly believe has one of the coolest outfits. I'm not gonna lie, boy looking freshed out, looking like a spider character if I'm being honest. See, when it comes to his lore, it's kind of complicated. Like, he actually believed he was the real Peter Parker to the point where he was actually about to attack Peter, like enraged, to talk about how he's fake, even though this is kind of tragic when realizing you're the one that's actually the clone. You sitting there contemplating on attacking the real version, thinking that's the fake one when you're the fake one. Talk about a successful, perfect clone. In his lore, it's because of this being Jekyll created a couple clones, one of Gwen Stacy and one of Peter Parker. And I guess it's not healthy being obsessed with Peter. You make all these different clones. You kind of all know where this is going. He has his own costume. He had to blind his hair to make himself look different and unique. He has almost everything similar to Spider-Man: superhuman strength, reflexes, and equilibrium, being able to clean the surfaces, spider sense. One could say this could help his fighting speed. I mean, the spider sense is deeper than you might think. It can kind of tell if a character's lying, because Punisher, for example, was trying to threaten Spider-Man. He knew he wasn't going to shoot him because his spider sense wasn't tingling. It can warn him of somebody else about to cause self-harm to their cell. It doesn't just look out for him, but if somebody's nearby, it can actually warn him of other people trying to harm themselves. People trying to end themselves, he can actually sense what they're about to do before they do it. It will even warn him if somebody was about to expose their secret identity. Like, this stuff isn't even like actual physical harm stuff. Like, he can legit be unmasked, and it will warn him of the fact that somebody might see him unmasked. I guess to him, that would be like a form of danger, people knowing his identity, I guess. Like, it detected Black Cat, even though she didn't have no intention on harming him. So, yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean he ain't gonna know what's going on just because you're not trying to harm him. It will tell him the actual direction where to dodge. What do you mean duck? Like, if he's lost and he needs to get somewhere, it will literally guide him through a facility to tell him which direction to go or whatever. If you're trying to hypnotize him, his spider sense will warn him to look away to not get hypnotized. Can actually track the source of danger. So yeah, don't sleep on the spider sense. It's more than you think. The spider sense will even help him with booby trap stuff, and it helps him how to disarm a bomb the right way. I'll be bringing this up again in this video as well. And web shooters and everything. You can see his power grid. You ever wondered how spider characters even have time to make all this web and stuff since it's not a part of his body? I mean, he's not one of those characters that have like a lot of money and stuff. So how does he constantly have web? Like, well, let's just say he's freaking smart. Because it's not easy to do this. Because he pretty much compared this to making weapon out of stuff like this is the equivalent to building a nuclear warhead out of sticks and matches. It lets you know how what little resources he can do, he can still produce interesting things of this sort. Like constructs, which I'm going to mention in 2 seconds. Being cheap has his fair share of issues when he wants to be super cheap, though. Stated here. Having problems with the web shooters jamming. But despite it having its flaws at first, he ends up finding a way to make it work right. He's very different from the other spider characters because he has certain things that are unique to him. Because through Ben's own experiences, he developed newer ideas when it comes to web and weapons or gear in general. Like, webbing is a constant thing, but he has webbing and these things known as stingers in his wrist shooter. Even Peter himself wondered why he didn't develop these type of goodies. They're stingers and web shooters. You know what I mean? He can shoot these stingers to do some stealth type stuff to knock some guards out. It's implied he can spam a whole lot of stingers when they're shooting at him. It's like his version of a gun, basically, to knock you out cold, though, but not kill you. They can even be used to paralyze foe, paralysis stingers. He will adjust the stingers on the fly depending on the opponent and depending on the situation. There are occasions where it can't literally pierce your skin, like Tombstone, for example. He can just shoot it in your mouth. Yeah, that way. It's implied he has his own gas mask, special insulated suits that counter certain characters. One can say he's a prep person. I mean, this guy even put something in his web that prevents the Human Torch from flaming on, y'all. His web can do a few different things, make it flexible like a bungee cord instead of a rope. He can alter the properties of it, basically. He can use it as a blunt way of attack, like bluntly hitting somebody here. Like similar to the main canon Spider-Man, he can make web constructs, one could say. The web can be really versatile, like a net, for example. Like the main Spider-Man's done all kinds of creative stuff with his web. Low-key looking like on some Green Lantern construct type stuff, all the different things he made out of web. This same thing kind of applies for Ben Reilly. He can make like a web wall to stop a large truck. When somebody shoots missiles at him, he can make a web shield that's strong enough to hold up to such an attack, and even make like a web slide so people can get down safely. He's made flippers to help him swim, improvising in the heat of the moment, making a parachute. More than once he's done this. It's satisfying seeing him make stuff like gliders to help glide down. He uses his impact weapon in creative ways to coat the enemy's claws to make the character not as dangerous by webbing his lethal areas up. He's had to use this type of weapon against characters like Venom, a constant Spider-Man threat. That makes sense. Even though he's a clone, he still retains crazy strength. I mean, that's why you're probably going to see Venom get brought up a lot in this video. This should be like a no-duh moment, but I just have to put this in the video just for those that try to downplay him because he's not the main Peter. People try to say nobody can match the main Peter no matter what. When Peter himself even says they are equally matched. We possess the same physical powers, the identical spider-like strength, speed, and agility. Yeah, made in a lab, waking up in a test tube. Forgot he woke up in a test tube. Thought he was the real Peter Parker, like I already mentioned. That's when he battled Spider-Man. The real Spider-Man, of course. One can say since he's an exact clone of Peter, his morals kind of rubbed off on him, so he ends up doing the right thing and let the real Peter live like he needs to. He doesn't want to take over his life. Decided to live his life, go out and do his own adventures somewhere else, embracing the fact that he was an imposter. Reinvented himself as a different type of Spider-Man, the Scarlet Spider, which is one of my favorite outfits ever. Ends up making his own friends, his own life, and then he gets another outfit, epic. Yeah, so you get an idea of his history. This pretty much sums it up in this panel right here. But how strong is he? You can kind of get an idea of how strong he is by how high he can jump. One could say his leg strength. It's like feats like this that get overlooked because people say, oh, he's only lifting up a regular sized human. When you can hold up grown men with one arm without no type of difficulty, that shows they're way stronger than normal humans. Do me a favor in real life and try to lift somebody up and hold them in the air with one arm and see how long you can do it. Trust me, it's not as easy as you think. These superheroes just make this kind of stuff look easy. Quickly, can we all agree that whatever a character's forearm strength feats or grip strength feats can do, stuff like his legs or quads, chest muscles and things of that such, even in fiction can do better? So you can kind of get an idea how strong an overall character is just by the little things like how hard they can squeeze stuff. Like how this Spider-Man can easily break a man's wrist with ease, and his vice grip can break a phone in his hand. In one of his many adventures, this person had like wrist devices on. His vice grip can break it with his strength. No risk for you. And since he's a superhero, he can't stand guns because like there's plenty of occasions of him actually just bending and messing up guns with his grip alone. He can literally break the gun in half. Not to mention he's strong enough to uproot lampposts and use them as a bat or weapon against many opponents he's fought that are always fighting the main Spider-Man. When it comes to doors to vehicles, he can rip the car doors off, or the same goes for doors when it comes to trucks, he can rip open. In this case with Daredevil, you see him ripping metal bars and pulling them. You see him literally tearing up a section of the floor, then using it as a shield. One of his mini fights with, yeah, of course, you got Stiltman, his leg he can rip. Vulture, say bye-bye to your wings. Hammerhead, when it comes to your battle suit, it gets ripped up, ripping out his power source. Plenty of robot battles. He's strong enough to rip off arms of these robots. Or one could say all the cases of him fighting cybernetic type creatures, messing up their limbs. Hello, Sentinel, let me rip your head open. Yeah, that's strength. This being, for example, that Spider-Man had to come across, you know, Scarlet Spider, it's confirmed to be bulletproof. You see the ricochets on how durable it is. He can still rip it apart with strength. And you might not want to try to restrain him because you might not have enough gear to keep him restrained. Or he'll just break out if your restraints aren't strong enough. Like in this occasion, he flexes out of chains. Even when he's restrained by stuff that's made to hold back Peter Parker's, Spider-Man's upper limits, knowing his upper limits, it doesn't matter. He's still strong enough to break out. Even stated impossible. I know Parker's limits. You couldn't. Strength-wise, we've seen him lift up cars. Like in this occasion, this falling car, he catches it with his bare hand. Like in this occasion right here, you see the car moving. He was able to stop the out-of-control car. And this little car, this cab, he can stop. I mean, this is just common spider-like stuff. Like in this occasion with the Sentinels, he lifted over his head and throw it at them. Cement trucks that are heavier than cars, he can throw trucks that distance to let you know that it's not like his limit. You see this truck, he has the strength to not only stop it, but kind of cave it in with his leg strength and everything put together. Kind of give you the idea of how resilient his body is as well. You know what I mean? And you got occasions like this with this armored car. You can see him slow it down. Don't be surprised if you see me compare him to the main Spider-Man a lot in this video, because they're literally comparable to each other. He's a clone of them. When Spider-Man himself was trapped in rubble, he was shown off to help him get out of the rubble. Like big debris or rubble, he's been constantly shown to help lift people up out of it. Trying to trap him under a lot of debris just won't cut it. You got occasions like this when people think he's dead, but nope, he can break out of it or lift himself out of it. A chunk of the ceiling, he literally uses his sticky ability to use it as a weapon. Like, that's crazy. Like, when it comes to strength and everything, we've literally seen Ben slugfest with the main Spider-Man himself to show that their physicals are somewhere in the same ballpark with each other. These type of occasions happen more than once. Throughout comics, it's clear that the writers want him to be around the main Peter's power level. Punching power, everything we can think of, blah, blah, freaking blah. I mean, we've literally seen Ben hold off a whole bunch of different clones of himself, of Spider-Man. Of course, he had to retreat, though. That's just too many Spider-Men. It just kind of lets you know, though, that he's meant to be Spider-Man tier-centric. And Peter just straight up admits it out of their mouth that they are equally matched, possess the same physical powers, identical spider-like strength and speed and agility. So one can say when it comes to the raw physicals, whatever Peter can do, Ben can do too. This is important because we've seen Peter lift up tanks that can weigh 20 to even 50 tons, meaning that Ben should also have no problem lifting, especially with his legs and everything put together, 50 plus tons at least, because it's literally confirmed in raw strength. They're identical. Just like Peter can tear open a bank vault and can pull down 2 helicopters. Spider-Man's webbing, for example, can keep a building from falling apart. You know how a house has like support pillars and stuff? You know, Ben has the physical strength to rip a piece of that off to cause the whole thing to collapse. You got some statements on how strong he might be when it comes to his limits. For example, I know this is just a statement, but it was stated he feels like someone dropped a building on him. You're probably thinking, oh, that's just a statement. You can't really take that seriously because buildings can weigh thousands of tons. Well, I would say this is only a statement if he doesn't have lore that confirms he's comparable to the actual Spider-Man. And you guys know of the famous feat of the main Spider-Man, who he's comparable to in raw strength physically because they have the same powers and everything, was able to support the weight of a building, which can mean he supported over hundreds, even thousands, multiple thousands of tons. So just like the main Spider-Man, Ben Reilly, Spider-Man, the Scarlet Spider, can lift a lot of weight, so that pretty much kind of proves he can punch hard too. It would be kind of weird to give a character super strength if they couldn't punch hard with their super strength. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not really my opinion. The comic itself says it. Let me use my spider strength, and he uses his spider strength to hit hard, so implying that his spider strength helps him to hit hard. They wouldn't give him super strength if he can't use it in combat. A quick example of showing how hard he can punch. I mean, there was this occasion with this debris that was falling. In order for the debris not to hurt nobody, he said, let me punch him into pieces so the pieces won't be big enough to hurt anybody. So he can punch hard. So he used his spider strength to break through walls. Like, we've seen him kick hard enough, like, for example, kicking Jackal through some machinery. This is a common spider or super soldier tier thing, punching people through brick walls or slinging them through brick walls. So him cracking walls with his attacks makes absolute sense. We've seen him punch beings so hard they go into the bleachers and break the bleachers. So when you see walls in the scans, just know they can bust through them. Ben can hit hard enough to do this as well. He's strong enough to crush desks, crack a wall with his hit. Stuff like this, I shouldn't have to show him kicking doors in. Just pushing doors off their hinges is just light work. Even if they're metal, it's just light work for a character in his tier. Like, we know he's strong enough to literally kick chimneys apart. Obviously, Sentinels can vary in size, but there's actually statements of Sentinels being like 40 plus feet tall, and Spider characters are way smaller than stuff like this, including Scarlet Spider. Like, sure, they do vary in size, but there's some Sentinels that can be up to a height of 47 feet and weigh at least 6 tons. One can say they're close to the size of buildings. And when Scarlet Spider gets in conflicts with robots or Sentinels like this, for example, giant robots like this, he can damage by using a metal rod to slice through it, like you see in this occasion here. And you can kind of see like the size of this thing's hand compared to Spider-Man himself. The hand being bigger than Spider-Man, he's able to do damage to Sentinels this big. Not to mention there's some Sentinels that are 200 tons and 96 feet tall, which is wild to think about Spider-Man having this much more strength than his height and weight. So depending on which Sentinel we're talking about, it's almost like fighting a small building, really. Yet Scarlet Spider can harm big chunks of steel like this with his punches and strikes and things of that such. It's like if he hits you, it's like a building falling on you, basically. See, here's the thing. The Daily Bugle is a really large building. Ben should also be able to lift trains like Spider-Man. But one of Peter's craziest feats of all time is where he briefly supported the weight, a piece of the weight of Daily Bugle. Maybe not all of the weight. The whole building could weigh over hundreds of thousands of tons, y'all. They say, it's Spider-Man, he's holding up the building. He says, no, I'm holding up one support beam and praying that the Daily Bugle doesn't fall around his ears. So it wasn't all the weight, but you still can't disrespect this feat, even if you say it's not all the weight. He did have his web to help him out as well, but even if you want to say he supported 1% of 100,000 tons, that's still 1,000 tons. At the very, very least, he had to be supporting more than this, but this is like a disrespectful low ball. This is a bare minimum 1,000 tons. Ben should also be able to support. Like, as a bare minimum, this would technically confirm he can hit really hard. Most folks can hit harder than what they can lift. Spider-Man's literal super strength helps his punching power, confirmed in his vid, implying he can punch you with 1,000+ tons of force. I mean, all the major villains Spider-Man, the real Spider-Man Peter Parker has encountered, Ben Reilly has gotten encounters with too, like punching Rhino here. Characters that are as strong as Spider-Man, comparable in strength like Venom, he punches, battles Tombstone. We've seen him actually use his web in conjunction with his strength to hold a punch back from Tombstone, slugfesting it with Hammerhead and this exoskeleton suit, for example. In this occasion, punches Carnage into the wall. Symbiote beings are actually beings that can withstand Spider characters' punches. He's gotten in battles with Scorpion, withstood his hits, and even punched him here. Look how the environment treats his punches when you see him punching certain characters. They not only go flying, but he's constantly going through bricks and cracking walls and stuff. Other Spider-like characters like Kane that have given Peter himself major issues, he's gotten a slugfest with when it comes to using web against them. Things like that. Spider people like Sandman, we've seen him get trapped. And with some help, he helps bust out, of course. Like, we've seen him fighting with beings like Sandman. Like, we've seen him bust open the support beams of a wooden tower and it falls over. His punches go right through certain androids. Like, yo, he can just kick really hard and stick you really hard, even if you're robotic or android type of cybernetic being. Look what his strength can do to the hood of a car, hard enough to set off the airbags and things of that sort. His body can withstand whatever he can dish because he's been punched through walls too, and he can still get back up after being punched through walls and stuff by super strong beings like himself. Even jokes after the wall cracks. He even got hit by Tombstone through wall-like structures and is good afterwards. I mean, the guy, he's even took a volley of punches from Quicksilver, so you know his body can withstand a lot of crap. In real life, your punching speed can help how hard you can hit, along with other things like your physical fitness and things of that such. We know Spider-Man has crazy physical fitness, but he also has crazy fighting speed. This could also contribute on why he can punch so hard. Fighting speed in general. Since he's a Spider-like character, there's plenty of people that have a gun. Even if it's multiple shooters, y'all ain't gonna hit him. He has crazy reflexes like, yo, y'all still can't hit him. Even if it's multiple directions. Part of the reason why his fighting speed could be good is because his spider sense can kind of warn him before they shoot. So he kind of knows what you're about to do before you do it. One can say this is going to help him dodge. Like, for example, he knew that he was going to get ready to shoot him here. So it's like he can see a glimpse into the future. Multiple shooters, miraculously, none of them can hit him. Not just pistols, but high-powered rifles, y'all still can't hit him. Uzis, multiple handguns. Y'all might as well just stop trying at this point. It don't even intimidate him no more. Like, he literally can sense what you're about to do before you do it. Like, you telling me even when it's raining bullets, none of these bullets ricocheting off stuff still can't hit him? Bro, just dancing around your shot at this point. Like, imagine seeing somebody slowly approaching you and you're trying to hit them before they get to you, but you still can't hit them once. Even if it's energy blast, you still can't hit him. So yeah, if you hit him, just know that's a feat if you could even hit Spider-Man once. Speed blitzing a character while also dodging seems to be like a Spider-Man specialty, if we're being honest. The agility. Yo, what if I told you he has similar fighting speed to Peter Parker? The real one. That's a shocker, right? You can see them slugfesting. That's a shocker, right? Let me stop. Look at his reflexes. There was a bullet that literally got shot at him. His fighting speed. His hands was able to catch a bullet. He even says he wasn't sure he was able to catch one. Let you know he underestimates his own speed. Caught the bullet in his hand. So stuff like this lets you know that Spider-Man characters have fast hands that can pretty much move like a blur faster than your eyes can perceive. Like, imagine his fast hands like this punching you at speeds faster than a bullet. Like, imagine these huge hands coming at you at that kind of speed. That's scary to think about, that he has the reflexes and can move his hands in time in the way that fast before the bullet can even get to him. I mean, guys, make this make sense. He's so fast while falling, he was quick enough to change his clothes while falling. Narration states, in the space between heartbeats, Spider-Man has pulled the reporter out of harm's way, shot off 2 web lines that fast, preventing a police patrol car from being crushed under a ton of bricks. Narration compares him to lightning itself to show that it's clear right intent when it comes to his fighting speed. They say it again here. So not only do you have to worry about fists moving faster than a bullet, his fighting speed has been compared to lightning, or is he faster than lightning? You got to worry about these type of hands coming at you. And lightning is over 200,000 miles per hour. Several gunmen, they say he's too fast. They can't get a beat on him. This shows how fast he is. Make this make sense when it comes to speed. You can see the gun clearly at her head. Narration even says he has to move really fast to pull this off. He was able to save this lady despite the gun being right there at her head and make a shield protect her. Like, what in the speed he had to do this? I mean, for Pete's sake, the guy has webbing, can expand in microseconds, 1/1,000,000th of a second, basically. Like, it's legit future sight, one could say. His spider sense will go off before he even pulls out the gun. Like, he can just be minding his own business and you surprise him. A sudden burst of instinct flashes through the Scarlet Spider's head, something he has come to know as his spider sense warns him of the danger the instant before it strikes, and that's how he's able to carry himself to safety. It lets you know of intention to kill. Bishop, he dodges his attacks and hits him, got in a scuffle with Lizard himself, got in scuffles with multiple Spider-Man-centric type characters, while also countering and parrying their attacks as well, like Hobgoblin. Electro's in the area, he punches, dancing around everybody. It's just too much evidence that he's a Spider-Man tier, Peter Parker level type being. I mean, fighting them one-on-one is one thing, but dancing around the whole room of them is another thing. I ain't saying he can beat all of them at the same time. It's just showing that he can hang with them for a little while before they trap him under the debris. And there was a time Ben actually wore this mask. His memories kind of manipulated. See, here's the thing. There was like this ooze. This is more on the recent-ish type stuff where Ben got submerged in. This what made him turn into a new entity known as Chasm with a whole new different look and everything, looking creepy. Yeah, that's how he looks. One could say this was like a major power-up because it stated here, all Limbo's leaders, the previous leader had this scythe, for example. He said they have a weapon, symbol of their authority. If they lose it, they lose their authority. This is a common theme in Marvel when characters that are lower tier get ridiculous power-ups to where they become top tier. You know, of course, Ben has to have his moment to get super crazy strong too. Like, you can see his body bulk up after he touches it to where he basically became a demon and became a new ruler of Limbo known as King Chasm. With this staff, one could say Ben at least got 10 times stronger by holding such a staff, becoming King Chasm at least. That's a 10 times multiplier, one could say at least. This could be a pun, but you kind of get the idea. When it comes to all his statistics, it's implied he's massively stronger than he was before because when Spider tier characters try to pull up on him, he smacks him back like, what are you doing? Then y'all try to team up on him. Implied he has energy projective type abilities with this scythe. Being the new king, using the scythe, he can create stuff, or one could say towers. Multiple X-Men people, even Jean Grey included in this, somebody that's a powerhouse, and I have a video about on the channel who's really strong. They had to team up on him like this, so he was definitely a powerhouse compared to what he used to be. Like, you can tell he's powered up because Spider-Man punches him, he kind of treats him, spins him around and jokes with him, kind of. Showing that this power-up kind of does make him way stronger than he was previously. He was already a match for Peter previously. You see what I mean? His wings and stuff, everything about him seems to be increased. He's more durable without flinching here. With his new abilities are amped, one could say. All the demons of Limbo are at his command. Well, in their words, were at his command. But you know how these things go in comics. They can't have him be a powerhouse forever. So, of course, you know, this didn't last long. And after getting teamed up on by multiple beings that were supposed to be under his leadership, along with the person that had the staff initially getting the staff back, along with Magic, the X-Men helping get the staff out of his hands, he gets depowered back to the regular old Chasm, not the King of Hell Chasm. There's implications he doesn't have the same rule over Limbo, even though he was temporarily the rule of Limbo over her, because she just simply grabbed it and pretty much took it back pretty seamlessly. And you already know he got imprisoned. He was like imprisoned in this paradise-like place, but he still goes by Chasm with his outfit and stuff. Like, it's another plane of existence he's imprisoned in. Like, the real Spider-Man's not allowed to visit him too long, apparently. But you guys get the idea of that. But everybody, that's just about gonna do it. He's one of the characters I don't think you have no choice but to respect. But because you gotta respect Spider-Man, whatever he can do physically in his base state. Not counting the power-ups, of course. But before I get going, everybody, I don't think you have much choice but to respect him. But before I get going, I gotta say quick thanks to the donators, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect, Ben. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other House Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.